we address a couple groups in the church, those who are drifted from God and those maybe who have never made a first-time commitment. And we talked about a principle in the message, and now we're saying, but the first step is to connect to the one who can help you with that principle and execute, and it's Jesus. So there's a place on the connection card for you to check, if today you pray this prayer with us and you want to follow Jesus for the first time, would you let us know by checking the box? Is that okay? You got that? And so we give invitation for them to receive Jesus during the service. Rick Warren did a beautiful job, by the way, last week at the end of that teaching in the group. He just led them in a sinner's prayer. And then he said, after he's done, he said, I want you to tell your group, if you made a first-time commitment to Jesus, after this tape shuts off, tell your group. And it was so easy for our group leaders, right? Like I looked around at my group and I said, anybody? And they had all made that commitment, but it just kind of, you ask for a call for a commitment. Next is utilize big days, Easter, Christmas, Mother's Day, to invite people to come. Mother's Day is a big day. You understand that? What do moms want? They want their kids to go to church. By the way, don't preach long on Mother's Day. They want to go to brunch, okay? And they want to beat the Baptist there, so make sure that you just go short, on that particular day. I'm just helping you. Use testimonies as a way to share Jesus. It could be a video testimony. It could be a testimony that you might do during a message where you interview somebody that just made a commitment to Jesus. Provide high-quality invite cards. In other words, you're just putting a tool in people's hands. Let's say it's an attraction series coming up that would be attractive to somebody that was in this group. You're just giving them a card and saying, pray over this card, but don't put it on your fridge. Hand it to that person you've been trying just to invite to come, on Sunday morning. You all right? Too fast or you're going good? So next thing is the structure, or the staff. Challenge staff and key leaders to be an example of evangelism by holding them accountable to serving in servant evangelism events. If we have an outreach event, it's all hands on deck, especially for our full-time staff and part-time if they can make it. Fasting and praying for big days. We can have this structure and we can have this whole thing down. We dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's, but we want to fast and pray and make sure that we're asking God to move in that thing. Intentionally building relationships with unchurched people and inviting their friends to church. This is critical for us as key leaders and also as staff. Like we've done this before where we've just said, okay, let's just go around the table at staff meeting. Give me one or two first names of people that you're trying to reach right now, for Christ. It sticks out to me now. Liz is over here taking pictures and stuff, and her and John attend the Medina campus. Can I tell you what? They are so passionate about that community and who they've invited to be a part of that local church. John's a teacher in the school. There's, I think, 2 teachers and his principal's coming to Medina campus, all out of an invite, that he gave. And Andy's around here someplace. Did I see him? Is he gone? He's still here? Okay, he's by the coffee. So, but him and Beth, his wife, also, they just keep inviting people, to come. So that's how the staff works. The structure, intentionally structure for evangelism by doing these things, right? Planning evangelism events and planning community outreach events, And so we're fishing again. We're just serving, and sometimes we partner with people that are already doing stuff in the community, but we want to be in the community so we can meet people that may be far from God. Sharing stories of life change in Sunday services, that's another thing that can take place, by in your structure. Andy was sharing a couple of weeks ago, we just started a youth group at the Medina campus, and 16 kids show up on a Monday night, and in that time, he gives an invitation for kids to receive Jesus, and 9 kids 9 teenagers respond. Now, people, they like it when adults come to Jesus. They really like it when teens come to Jesus, as an offering highlight. And so we just celebrate that, Utilizing big days, Christmas and Easter, attraction series, Mother's Day and Father's Days. We've done this more than once. On Mother's Day, we have a drawing with the connection cards of a free spa treatment. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, if you're a mother, you want to come for that, don't you? It was funny one year because didn't you draw your mother's name one year? Brian pulling out cards randomly. He draws his mother's name. I mean, come on. The other thing we do on Father's Day to try to beef that a little bit is we give away a man bucket. And a man bucket is just full of meat that they can barbecue, And so we give that away. But just ways for giving people, you follow me on this? Giving people a way to invite their friends to come to church, So personal evangelism is next. And so 5 principles of personal evangelism. Is it still coming with me here? Oh, look at that. There it is. Give the congregation tools, right, to invite their friends to come to church. So 5 principles of this. The first one, you can write this in, is imitation. People do what they see you do. People do what they see you do. I have a building background, and so one of the places I fish is at Guy's Lumber in Clarence. They know me by my first name. The other place I fish is at Hector's Hardware on Main Street in Clarence. Because I can talk that common language with people from that background. Urgency, create a deadline. We're like, when we ask people, invite people, we say, this is the week or 2 weeks out. This is the day. Make sure you invite friends to come. Who are you inviting to come with you? Who do you know that needs this? Who do you know that's far from God? And why don't you give them an invitation to be able to come? Stress and relief. There's benchmarks throughout the year. So I talked about some of these Christmas in January series. We pair them together. Easter in a new series that starts on Easter Sunday. So we invite them back. We started on Easter Sunday. Now they got something to come back to the next week. One of the ones that's been kind of fun is, we've done this for a while, in June, is At the Movies. You've heard of this one? So we take the theme of some of the summer's movies and contrast that with what God says about that theme. And this is a tool that we've used for a while, is we give a movie ticket to the first-time guest and a movie ticket to the person who invited them. What gets rewarded gets repeated, yeah? And so it's just ways that we're just training people to be involved in evangelism. So expectation is the next one. Expectation. Invites are easier if people know what to expect. And I just put a note in here that said, why do we do the worship system first? Why do we do the assimilation system first? Because you want to make sure if someone gives you a shot on a Sunday, that you're prepared for them to come. The other thing you want to make sure is that person that invites them, that it's predictable. So that then when they invite a first-time guest, they don't have to go out for lunch later and say, hey, I'm sorry about we just make this thing predictable for them. So providing tools for people to use in order to help people with personal evangelism. Invite cards. They're depending on what we're doing. Sometimes we get these done professionally. Liz will design them and we'll send them out, and there'll be a really sharp card. And then if it's just a regular series that we're doing, we'll do them on cardstock. Does that help? And so you're just putting tools in people's hands that they can invite people to come. And we probably have some of these kicking around, don't we, Pam? Some invite cards or no? Okay. Yeah, so we can show you what those look like if you're interested. Provide service evangelism opportunities in the community. 2 of them this week that we did in Medina were a school supply giveaway we did in the parking lot. We just marketed it there, and for some of the families that going through a rough patch, they could just come and pick up book bags and school supplies, and we tried to match it up with the lists that were in the schools. And then Thanksgiving dinners, Brian did a cool thing with Thanksgiving dinners this year where, people would recommend somebody they knew who was going through a rough patch. We would buy and pack it, and they would deliver it, to the person hopefully I'm just giving you some ideas. Train people to write down, think about, and pray about their unchurched friends. One thing we've done in the past here, if it's around Christmas, we have communion the first Sunday of the month, and it's set up front, and we put a sticky note in the program, and we ask people to write first names of 2 people that they're praying would come with them to Christmas Eve. And they bring their sticky notes up and stick it to the table, and then pick up the communion. I tell them, lay it down, pick it up. You lay it down, you pick it up. And then I come back the next week, they're in a big jug, and I say, there are 260 names in here of people that over the next month we need to pray for because they're going to get an invite to come to church. We're just raising the evangelistic temperature, right? And we're keeping before people all the time. Next thing is promotion. Sowing seeds of invitation in the community. I should have just let Liz do this one because she has a lot to do with our promotion. But 4 keys to effective promotion. 1 is pinpoint your best fields. Who are you currently reaching? Who are you currently reaching? What town around you are they coming from? So we pinpoint that in our marketing. Plant the maximum number of seeds possible. And I think, I listed several of them here, on my sheet, and I'll just mention these to you. It could be direct mail, right? We're just planting seeds. Could be servant evangelism. When we were starting the community in Medina, before we ever had our first service, we served breakfast to the teachers in the high school, middle school, and grade school on Superintendent Day. It was just bagels, donuts, some fruit, with a little card that talked about one church coming. So servant evangelism, invite cards that talked about them, door hangers, newspapers. Could be direct mail. In Medina, in Orleans County, there is this thing called the Hub, which is a web page, and everybody puts their stuff on the Hub, And so we wanted to make sure we got on the Hub. Could be billboards, but you use those. And we targeted kind of with our stuff, Medina, Lindenville, and Middleport. If you go too far east, you bump into Albion. Yeah, and so they're doing right over there, so we don't need to go there, but we just target those areas. Expect a return. A proportional return is the next thing there. And I won't say too much about that one. Then wait for the coming harvest. So we're planting seeds, we're waiting for the coming harvest. So this teacher visits from Medina Schools, and she was there the day that we served the breakfast. She also got a mailer in her mailbox. And then one of her students shows up with one of those water bottles on his desk in her class. And her conclusion was, God is trying to tell me to go to this church, So there's just those things that you use to do that. Prepare and plan for the future. Okay, what are we doing next? And how are we going to keep fishing? And how are we going to keep throwing hooks in the water? And what's our strategy going to be for that in the coming year? So, am I going too fast? Want to breathe? All right. Next is, I still got time, Brian? Do I still have time? Not much? Okay. We'll just do fill-ins. So under the 4 keys, I just did that. Developing preservation. I think we're there, right? Helping people say yes to Jesus. So inviting people to say yes to Jesus Christ. Invite people to say yes to Jesus Christ. I don't know, I was missing this. It was almost like you lead them all the way up to the line, and we don't give them the next steps to how to cross over, and they don't know, It's like this one girl, lady who came from the AA group that meets at our church. I was talking to her, and she's in this group. And we were talking one time. I just asked her how she's going. She said, Pastor Rick, I'm like a sponge every single week. She said, you have to understand something. She said, before I came here, I didn't know what Easter meant. Really? So we have to be thinking in those lines weekly. Once in a series, 3 times a year. I don't know what your theme's going to be. And the next thing is prepare for people to say yes. Prepare for people to say yes to Jesus. Oh, dear God, 5 people checked the first-time commitment to Jesus. How are we going to follow up for them now? How do we track that? What do we send out to them? And develop a system for that. I'll just give you a quick one. We'll send an email, and in that theme, we'll send the book, How Good is Good Enough. It's a simple book by Stanley. I think it's really great in the Catholic area. It really unpacks the whole theme of earning your salvation. One more. Celebrate people saying yes. Celebrate people saying yes. I'll close with this. Do we have time for questions or no? I talk too much? We do. So I'll close with this. So there's a guy named Joe that comes to our church, so we celebrate people saying yes. And I talked about offering highlights, but I was in the foyer just visiting with people, and I introduced myself to folks because I don't know who they are. And I said, well, what are you talking about? You're intense. And they said, we're just counting the number of people that are here because Joe DeRazio invited them to come. Now, Joe is a prison guard at the federal prison in Batavia. Did I get that right, Ken? Yeah. And I said, well, what's the number? And they said, we're looking around the foyer. It's 12. It's 12 people that Joe has influenced just by invitation to come to this place. And so I hope I've encouraged you. I hope that I've lit a fire, that it's a possibility in your church for this to happen. How about if we do a little Q&A? Any questions that you have? Oh, wow.
So I'm just wondering, I know you mentioned the Next Step card, and that if people have made a decision to follow Jesus, that you encourage them to check that box.
Yep.
Do you also, at times, open the altar, welcome people to come forward? How do you handle that, or is it only the card?
Raising a hand, heads bowed, eyes closed. How many today? I want to pray for you in just a second, but how many today, just by slipping up your hand, are saying this is the day that you're making a first-time commitment to Jesus? So those are the main 2 tools. Do you use another one, Mark, that I'm not aware of? Or? Same. Yeah, why don't you say that out loud? I thought that was good.
I was just saying, we kind of do the same thing with hands raised, but I think there's even a boldness to that for people to come down to the altar. We don't have an altar, and we're nervous about having people kneel because their knees will get stuck to the movie theater floor. Yeah.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
I was wondering, when you have those first-time commitments or even a recommittal and they've checked the box, how persistent are you with the follow-up? What does your follow-up look like? I mean, you don't want to move into creep
We're
mode.
better.
So.
Yeah, we're better. And so we send an email with the book, How Good is Good Enough. And we're pretty persistent with that. And Pam, is that right? That's what we do, right? Yeah. So Pam takes care of that. So if they check the card and a book. Yeah. And then we'll try to help them get into one of the groups we offer. We didn't do it this semester. Is Starting Point by Annie Stanley, which we've even had people that walk with Jesus for a while go through that stuff. It's just good information. Yeah. Yep.
I guess my question's going to be, I think this is okay if you have momentum, or at least some. I don't know how many churches around here are this, but what about those that are stagnant? What about those that are, when you go, has anybody made a first-time commitment, and you recognize every single person in your congregation, the first name and everything, and that, what would be a great, other than the pastor, because we're going to do everything anyways, right? But how do you ignite that? How do you?
Oh.
That's my question.
Okay. So I think what would happen, what you're describing, is established church where you have mature believers, right, that don't even, it doesn't hit their radar screen, quite frankly. They're like, it's us four and no more, and we're totally comfortable with that. So how do you change the culture and ignite those things? I don't know if you want to jump in here, Mark. If you got anything, I can go on, but.
So I think the important thing with I think you have to start to lead the way with that, and I think even sharing stories of how you're inviting people and they say no to it, like sharing stories that somebody you're investing in and they haven't come yet, but I'm still praying for them, because that's the reality for a lot of the people in the church. Like, man, I've tried. Like I have, and like, this person just hasn't come yet.
That's good.
So like, not us sharing stories that end every single time with they came to Christ, and they're totally changed, and their whole household did, and we're baptizing. Because then for like and those are great. Obviously, share those, but like share stories of failure as well. That when like, man, I've been investing in this person, and I've invited, but man, they haven't come yet. And it's I'm still praying for them though, and at least you start to sow seeds of an inviting culture in the church, and more people will connect with that. Like, oh, it's okay if they didn't come. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep praying for them. So I think it's good to like even share the times when it and it lets your people know who you're praying for, and who you're trying to invite as well. But I think we have to set like whatever culture that there that there would be, and if we're in a season where there's none of those really rich dramatic stories of somebody coming to Christ, then find them elsewhere. Like I had coffee with a pastor friend, and he shared about how whatever, and man, isn't that awesome? Like, let's celebrate that. The kingdom wins when someone comes to Christ, even if it doesn't happen here. So maybe just expanding, like even where to find those stories, and if you can keep that in front enough, like it can start to build a culture where those some of your examples will then when they happen, share the tar out of it. But
that good? I think one of the ways is just somewhere along the way something was missed in their teaching. Like they can think that your job is to feed me one more time, but they missed something if they didn't get the mission and they didn't get the vision. And so I think even talking about the vision, that wait, he wanted us to gather as a group, and we love it, when we get together. But whoa, he did not. He said go. Go. And so I always think that, if someone hasn't caught that in their walk with Christ, somewhere they missed the discipleship piece. And so it's discipling that takes place. The other thing, I saw this chart one time that said it was like -10, right, is let's say an atheist, and as you go down negative to 0, where the person crosses the faith line, then the task of the believer in some of those numbers, until there's an openness about Christ and you can have the conversation, is a relationship. And so how are we going to build that relationship? We know the Holy Spirit's at work already, and it was just kind of a cool chart that you could teach out. But after we met the other day, Mary, and we were talking, and so I noticed when I walk in, there was a group of guys sitting at Friendly's on Transit. I don't see them at Friendly's on Transit. Can I tell you where I see them? At McDonald's in Akron. And they're construction guys, which I happen to love. And so, I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? You're messing me up. What are you doing at Friendly's, And then one guy's like waving, Dale, he's the guy I know the most. But after we were done, I went over to the table because Dale is open to me. You got it? And his buddies see this, and he was gone. And I said, do you guys do business with Dale? What do you do? And I want to know their story, you know. And the one guy looked at me. It was just impromptu, and he goes, my sister goes to your church. You know, and so sometimes just those small steps to get to the crossing over is really critical. One more question? Does that help answer your question, though? Okay, good.